Good morning, everybody. John Skipper here for GAI Insights, bringing your Gen AI news briefing. Got all kinds of things going on today, from new kinds of neural networks that are actually more brain-like, through how we do proofreading more efficiently with one of our Learning Lab members, Lucinda Linde, actually leading the charge there. So we have Amanda, Adam, Luda, and Paul, and always Angaj Handa. Angaj, how about the first article, please? Oh, and please remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, like the channel and subscribe. And if you are interested in the articles, it's gaiinsights.com/articles. They're available right now. Okay, Ankash.
Thanks, John. So the first one that we have for today comes from Sakana AI, and it talks about continuous thought machines.
All right. Yeah, very interesting. Different model of the brain here, with in particular focusing on time, the variable of time. So, Adam, what do you think here?
This is certainly interesting, and I've heard a lot of people question what's happening in Japan, and is Japan falling behind in the AI race? And this is a Japanese company, Sakana, and this is now, I looked through our history, this is the 7th time we've reported an article on them. One of them that cropped up and actually got an essential rating a while back was the first peer-reviewed scientific publication that passed by an AI scientist was their work as well. And so they're really looking at different ways to approach AI and how to model more of what we see in the real world. And in this case, the way the human brain processes information. It's even a little over my head in terms of the technical details of how it works. It's certainly very interesting, but generally the idea is, because, as they say, it's a continuous thought machine, as it's processing, it's taking that processing into consideration with the next step. So rather than sort of having a plan and going at it, it's continuing to build on what it knows. And it's got some pretty stunning results. Overall, I'd say it's probably optional. This isn't something that's generally available, but they do certainly continue to keep the pedal on the metal in terms of accelerating the research and the innovation in the space. You're on mute, John.
It's interesting. Thank you. Reminds me of some of the demos on Liquid AI, the ability to follow, the attention in terms of where the learning is happening.
Yeah. What modeling of the human neurons. Yeah.
Yeah. And they also say that they were much more inspired by biological root as well. So what do you think, Luda?
Yeah, Sakana AI, I think it's worth monitoring. They're building an AI infrastructure on Bitcoin. So their intent is to compensate the contributors of the pieces of the infrastructure accordingly, right? And so it's an interesting platform that they're building. In this particular case, I think it's optional for the general reader, but it's a fascinating technical advancement, algorithmic advancement, as you say, John, very deeply in the mechanism of an LLM. So what they're trying to do is take the timestamp and get the neurons to fire continuously whenever it's needed on the context. So it's a fascinating innovation, but it's very researchy yet, so optional.
All right, optional. We're headed for optional here. Amanda, Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm optional as well. And I think everyone sort of touched on this, but one thing to pull out of the article as well was just about how it talks about we don't necessarily have to focus on more data. I think for so long it was kind of pushed, like beat into all of our heads that more data is better, more parameters, whatever it is. And so this was going a little bit away from that and saying that we should basically start designing smarter and get more closer to like a brain sort of design or something like that. So that's something I would pull out, but yes, I'm on the optional camp.
All righty, Paul, you okay with optional?
Yes, optional. Hello, Germany. Germany's in the house.
All right. Akash, optional, and next, please.
The next one talks about Anyan Custom, a multimodal driven architecture for customized video generation.
Yeah, amazing ability to take different roles and characters and put them into different areas here. Yeah, what did you think about this one, Amanda?
Yeah, so it's interesting, all the graphics and things like this. I think it's definitely a product announcement, so I'm more in the optional camp. But just something to note about it. It's a pretty interesting example of how foundational models keep evolving. And so now we're looking at more and more sort of real world scenarios and things like this. So for those maybe in the product space, this could be interesting for them, but in general, this is product announcements. I say it's optional.
Yeah, back in my college filmmaking days, we would have killed for something like this. The ability to just grab an object or a character and put them in different scenes and so forth. Just amazing. I mean, Paul, what do you think?
Yes, amazing, everyday miracle, optional.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, agreed. There are certainly plenty of other tools on the market that provide this capability of using reference images and combining them like this. Maybe to this not to this degree, and maybe not as open, but it's incremental improvements, optional.
Luda, you okay with optional?
I'm okay with optional. One thing to highlight, though, is at the very end, Ankaj, if you can scroll, this seems to be providing lip syncing capabilities from just a photo. And if that's really the case, I will be all over it, because it's very difficult to actually, with the current tools, even the most advanced, to actually do that. So it's you're piecing various capabilities together, but at the bottom, you give them a photo. They create a little clip, and you give them the text, and your photo, right, is talking through this. So essentially creating an avatar. This is, if that's true, it's cool, and it's then ahead of the game.
But Luda, DID's been doing that for 2 years now.
No, they are saying they're doing that. Try doing it. Try really implementing it. It's not.
I've done it dozens of times. I create college.
Okay.
Oh, dozens of times, yeah. And run
with the lip syncing of your picture, from your picture.
Yeah, I upload one picture of a college buddy, and then I type in the text, "Paul, I forgot, I still owe you $200 from college," and it creates a 1 minute video, and the lips move, and I send it off to him, and that's the evidence.
Oh, okay. Well, I should try that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't successful in doing so. So that's why I noted it, but optional.
All right. Vivek is saying yes, multi-persona control
Yes.
is new. Probably is. All right. Anyway, I'm still giving it an optional. Sorry about that, Vivek. Optional it is. Ankaj next.
Okay, the next one comes from CIO Magazine and talks about how AWS is offering a glimpse of what CIOs can do with Amazon Q Business.
Yes, and it features our friends at Ironside and our dear friend Lucinda Lindy, actually quoted in here in terms of what they did. What'd you think, Luda?
Yeah, you froze for a couple of minutes, seconds rather. So I actually rated this article as important because it talks about several examples. It's a use case. It's simple examples, but it is a good definition of what AI can do. They walk through the HS Brands, and HS Brands uses $250,000 for proofreading. So this is a mystery brand. For Amazon, they send fake customers to buy products, and then they monitor what's happening in the background and how well the service does. And so they have a lot of data. And Ironside, Lucinda Lindy, who often comes as a guest reviewer on our show, was the principal architect of that system. And they've reduced that budget 85 or 90%. So this is quite stunning. And there's another case of Zoom. So I thought this is a good, brief description of good use cases. So important.
Yeah, I was between important and essential in this one. They give you as good economic return and so forth. I don't know. What do you think here, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm at least unimportant. I could be talked up to essential, and I think you were starting to touch on it, Dr. John. But the fact of they show ROI through automation and things like this, which that's consistently a question, is how do we show the ROI on these things? So I'm important, can go to essential.
Paul?
Important.
Adam?
Yeah, important. I just it was a bit light for me in terms of, I mean, it pointed some good use cases. Certainly, I mean, between CIO.com and the other labels, it's certainly worth noting. But it didn't go deep enough for me. It was kind of like, yeah, okay, it's good to know it can do these things, but yeah, it left me lacking a little bit.
I don't know. I mean, I look at the thing. It says, okay, it goes through what HS Brands does. It says $250,000. It goes through. It goes to Ironside Group, and they talk about how they do it. I don't know.
But how would I do it? I guess is my question. Like as a leader, that's great, but it just it's more of an art of a possible than a how can I actually do it myself.
All right. We'll give
Yeah, and John, I think if you read the article carefully, we can ask Lucinda when she next time appears, but it was more on the data consolidation across the various silos to versus the Gen AI application. So they can now, what the value to them, they reduce that particular budget and that particular thing, but it's using that data now in Q enables them to do way more. So that's the enablement.
All right, we're going to give it an important. Akash, next.
Okay, the next one that we have for today comes from WSG and talks about why Moderna merged its tech and HR departments.
Yeah, here we have Moderna. They actually had kind of a bad recent set of performance, and they merged their AI and HR departments. Very interesting. Starting to look at digital staff as staff. What do you think here, Adam?
I think it's an important concept and an important article. I wish, again, they had gone to a little more detail. They talk about 3,000 tailored versions of ChatGPT, or the GPTs, as we call them, but it didn't even say which how they're being built. Like, is it GPT Enterprise, or are they doing some custom thing with OpenAI? So again, a little light on the details. It is very impressive. I think it's worth taking note of the success that they've seen through this approach, and for companies to start rethinking some of the ways that they build their business. And this is a good indicator of that.
Yeah. All right, Paul, what do you think?
I actually had as essential. I think the whole notion that the AI leader needs to understand these are digital cognitive workers here. And Moderna, who was a really early adopter of it's OpenAI Enterprise, and obviously he's in the knowledge business here, is really important to make sure AI leaders know. I think second is, where AI sits, it's not solely going to sit in HR, but having AI-enabled departments beyond development is where this is all going. And this is a great example of them.
So, okay, we're starting to get into essential territory here. What do you think, Luda?
Yeah, I'm with Paul. This is a clear message that HR or hiring, right, function, HR is kind of combined with various functions across the business is where we're going. So, and this is a clear, we are combining technical group and HR together. So this is a great message, and I think it's essential.
Amanda, you okay with essential on this one?
Yeah, I'm okay with essential. One comment on it is something that I consistently push in the courses I'm facilitating is to look at implementing things inside your organization before you go outside. Use them as guinea pigs and things like this. And so I think this article does a good job of pretty much looking at exactly that, on how you could start building something in-house. It's a win-win because, again, it's helping you with processes, automation, whatever it is in-house, but then you could take these learnings and transfer them to outside externally. So I think it's a great example of that. So yes, that could be essential here.
All right, we're headed for essential in this one. I agree. It's important concept, emerging concept, and the notion of digital staff out there. All right, we're going to give this one an essential. Akash, next.
John, before we go, one thing I think is really important for the leaders right now is so much of our discussion has been on the evolving edge of technology. I think this is evolving edge of adoption. So I think getting more and more of these case studies helps the AI leader understand the contour where this is going. This is a great example of that.
All right. There we have it. Essential. Akash next on Vanta.
Okay, the next one comes from Anthropic, and it's a case study about how Vanta streamlines compliance remediation with Claude.
All right. What'd you think, Amanda?
Yeah, this one, I don't know. It's just a use case. It's not that long. I don't feel like there's a ton of information in here. So this one, I was more on the optional camp. Nothing really blew my socks off here.
All right. We have an optional. What'd you think? Adam, I think in the pregame you saw it as optional as well.
Yeah, that's right. It's just a bit light on detail. It felt more like Anthropic trying to show off a bit than it really provided much value.
Luda, you okay with optional on this one?
I'm okay with optional, but interesting how a company, Vanta in this case, just woke up to the realization that they had the data, they actually have the deep knowledge of this of the specific case, and they can remediate it. This wasn't their business, but they essentially spread into this adjacency, right? So this is an interesting case of revenue enhancement capability through AI enablement. So I like this case, but it is optional, I think, in general.
All right, we're headed for optional. Amanda, you're good? Optional? All right, optional it is on Akash. Back to the one before, Ashish is saying, this notion that it's going to be a big shift for HR managers and how to think about digital employees. I agree. And, our friends at One Digital are certainly doing that. I imagine you are, Ashish, at Microsoft as well. Akash, last article, please.
The last one that we have for today comes from OpenAI, and they have introduced Health Bench.
Here we are, Health Bench, an incredible benchmark for figuring out whether, healthcare capabilities. What do you think here, Luda?
Well, I think it's essential for health organizations, but optional for AI leader. This is really, really comprehensive. As I go through it and I looked at the technical paper, it's 262 physicians across 60 countries with 5,000 realistic health conversations, built this system that to evaluate the quality of the responses in this type of conversations. So they put it in different categories, put the criteria in place, and at the end of the day, they say that this particular system with the newer models actually cannot improve, or physicians rather cannot improve on the results of what AI suggests. So this is quite cool, and but it's not for general AI consumption out there. So optional for me.
Optional. We got an optional here. Very important for, actually essential for our friends in healthcare. Yeah, what'd you think here, Adam?
Yeah, I'm on board with Luda there. I do like that they represent the benchmark against the cost for the different OpenAI models, which I think more and more is going to be very, very relevant to look at the quality of the results. And there are times where it's worth paying more to get the better quality, but that visibility or line of sight into sort of the relationship between those is a really good metric.
All right, very interesting. What do you think, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm on optional on this one. I just think it's interesting because now we're starting to get into dangerous territory, because from the patient perspective, this was the exact point that the argument many made was that, yes, we're going to use AI in the background. We're going to use it for summarization, to assist, things like this. Now we're talking, it's going to simulate conversations you're having. And now we're starting to take away that personal touch with you and your healthcare provider. So I think now we're starting to get into ethical and dangerous territory. So for that reason, I think it's interesting to just note that we said we weren't going to do that anytime soon, and now we're doing it right now. But I'm optional on this one.
All right, Paul, we're getting into, as we do benchmarking, kind of weird territory here, but what do you think of this article? Optional?
Yeah, no, I had it as important. It's essential for anyone in healthcare. And at least to Amanda's comment, Amanda, one of the interesting thing at the MIT conference 2 weeks ago some of the research they were sharing was one of the speakers was how people under 27 prefer to get finance advice, medical advice, therapy advice from AI rather than humans here. So I think that train is moving very quickly. And I think the last thing on this note, it's another example of this general purpose GPT technology doing really well in vertical things here. So there was a lot of discussion about you had to have a vertically specific LLM to handle some of these technical things here, and that may not always be the case.
Yeah, I think, it's kind of the new underwriters laboratories for, semantics, if you will. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, let's give this one an important. Ashish is making the case. Hey, look, this is, one of the, many regulated industries out there, and having this kind of a benchmark could be helpful. All right. Pankaj, will you give us the total? Any announcements for anybody? Luna, Paul, Adam, Amanda?
One announcement in Boston tonight at 5:30. We have our AI Woodstock, Boston. 275 people have signed up. It's a timeout market near Fenway, and I think at least half of them will be there. So if you're in town and want to network here, it's a really fabulous way to meet technical people, business people, entrepreneurs, investors, and everything else.
And it's free. You don't have to have come before. It's just it's an open forum for anybody who wants to come together. Amanda, Adam, Luza, anything else?
All good. Thank you.
All right, Pankaj. All right, Pankaj, thanks. We got one essential here. Moderna, AI is the new HR, or HR is the new AI. And then we have one important and the rest optional. All right. Kind of like reading. That Moderna article is not that long, and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Hope this is helpful. Bye-bye, everybody. Remember,
Two importance, right?